I was made a United Nations Messenger of Peace. First of all by Kofi Annan when he was Secretary General, but then I was reappointed 2 years ago by Ban Ki-moon when he became Secretary General. So why was I made a Messenger of Peace? It was because of Roots and Shoots, because I was explaining to Kofi Annan that everywhere I go in the world, I try to start Roots and Shoots. And Roots and Shoots isn't just about saving the environment. Every group is choosing projects to help people, to help animals, to help the environment, but also learning to live in peace and harmony, not only with each other, between cultures and religions and nations, but also between us and the natural world, between humans and Mother Nature. And so Roots and Shoots is very much about breaking down the barriers that we love to build between people of different religions and countries and so forth. Breaking down those barriers, creating a world of people, a family of man. That's what it's really about. And when I was made a UN Messenger of Peace, I learned for the first time that the UN has an International Peace Day. I didn't hear about that before. And I thought, well, now I'm a UN Messenger of Peace, maybe I can help people to understand there is this International Day when we all dream of a peaceful world. We all want a peaceful world. A lot of people just say, oh, well, it's never going to happen. If everybody says it's never going to happen, it never will. And to have a day when people come together and think about peace and talk about peace and bring different cultures together and bring different religions together is very exciting, very moving, very meaningful. And so one of our Roots and Shoots high school students, and Roots and Shoots, by the way, starts with kindergarten and goes all the way through university, with more and more adult groups forming, like in the staff of big corporations, staff of embassies. I'm about to speak to the retired people in America, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them in this group, and I'll be speaking to 16,000 of them in Los Angeles this September. They want to start Roots and Shoots. They feel they're retired, but they still have a lot to contribute, and they would love to work with young people to make the world a better place. So one of the high school students designed a giant peace dove, because of course the dove is the symbol of peace. And this giant peace dove is made out of recycled sheets, bed sheets. It flies in quotes on 4 long poles. Its head is made of chicken wire and covered in sheets with eyes painted on. And something looking like an olive branch is attached to the beak. And it's on the website, how you make it. I don't know if your school has made it. Yes, they have. So again, the international school here in Warsaw will be able to give you help if you shouldn't. It's not only for Roots and Shoots, it's all of us. We all want peace. And last year we were able to fly these giant peace doves with 20-foot wings in more than 40 countries. This year we want more. My vision is to be able to look down from a satellite and see that as the sun moves around the world, so these giant wings spread out, and we're slowly creating a world where we can live in peace with each other, where more and more people start to fight the governments who want war. And it's really going to be up to us. In the end, everything is up to us. If governments don't do what we want them to do, it's going to be up to us. And sometimes that's a long, hard fight. Look what's going on now in the Arab world. It's a long, hard fight, but one day we'll move towards this world of peace. So I'm going to tell a last story, and then I'm going to see if you have any questions. And my last story is about a chimpanzee who was born in Africa, and his mother was shot when he was about 1.5 years old, because that's the only way that you can catch a baby chimp, is by killing the mother. And he was sent off to a medical research lab in North America. He was put in one of these tiny cages that I described, 5 foot by 5 foot, bare, bleak, nothing to do. This closest relative of ours, who is capable of tool use and so many other intellectual performances we used to think unique to us. And there he lived for 15 years, and there they did experiments upon him. And he was lucky. When he was 16 or so, they didn't want him anymore. And so he was allowed to go and live with 3 other rescued chimpanzees, all females, on a man-made island in Florida, in a zoo. His name was Old Man, because although he was named when he was only 1.5 years old, a baby chimp who's been snatched away from the love of its mother is a very, very sad, hunched-looking little creature, and with their wrinkled faces and sad eyes, they look very old. Anyway, he was called Old Man. And he was put on this island with 3 females, 2 rescued from a lab like himself, and 1 from a circus. And a young man was employed to look after them, a young man called Mark. And Mark was told, don't go anywhere near these chimpanzees. They hate people, they're stronger than you, they can be very dangerous, all of which was true. So Mark was very careful. He had one of these little paddle boats that you see in fun, parks. And he was taking the food in his little boat and throwing it onto the shore of this island, keeping well away. But he began to watch these chimpanzees. And he saw, when he started approaching with food, how excited they became. And how they were so excited, but before they started eating, they hugged each other, they kissed, they patted one another on the back before they started to eat the fruit. And he saw, after a while, a baby was born. And how Old Man, the one male, obviously the father of this baby, how he loved that baby, how he shared his food as the child got older, carried the baby around, protected him from real or imagined danger. And he thought to himself, how can I possibly look after these amazing beings if I don't have some kind of good relationship with them? So he began going a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And one day he dared hold out a banana in his hand. An Old Man took it from him. And Mark said to me, Jane, I know just how you felt when David Greybeard first took a banana from you. And so one day he dared step onto the island. The females kept away, but Old Man just sat there. And one day Mark dared to groom him. This is how chimpanzees soothe each other. And one day Old Man turned and groomed Mark. And one day Mark dared tickle in Old Man's ticklish neck, and Old Man laughed. And so they became friends, and everything was wonderful, until one day Mark was picking up fruit peelings on the island, and it had been raining, so it was muddy and slippery, and he fell on his face. And the infant was close by and got startled and screamed. So the mother reacted instinctively, like mothers do. She raced over, and she bit into Mark's neck, and he felt blood dripping down. He's still lying on his face on the ground. The other 2 females instantly ran over, and one bit his wrist, and one bit his leg. And he's wondering how he can escape, and he looks up. Now he sees Old Man thundering across the island with his hair bristling and his lips bunched in a furious scowl. And Mark thinks, he's coming to rescue this precious baby. He prepared to die. But what happened? Old Man physically pulled each of these 3 females away. He kept them away from Mark, while Mark managed to drag himself to the boat. And I saw Mark when he came out of hospital. He said to me, Jane, there's no question, Old Man saved my life. And the reason I love this story, and for me it's very symbolic, if a chimpanzee, and a chimpanzee who's been abused by people so horribly, can reach out across what we used to think was a sharp line with humans on the one hand and the other animals on the other. If a chimpanzee can reach across that line to help a human friend in time of need, how much more should we humans be able to reach out to the animals in their time of need, reach out to other humans less fortunate than us in their time of need, reach out and try and solve the problems with our very sophisticated brains and with our capacity for compassion. That's how the world needs to move ahead. That's what Roots and Shoots is all about. And that's why I'm traveling 300 days a year around the world, trying to spread a message that every single one of us makes a difference every single day. And if we would just spend a little bit of time talking about the consequences of the things that we do, what we buy, what we eat, what we wear, how we interact with people or animals or the environment, then we would start making small changes. And people think making a small change is useless because the problems are so big. But hundreds, then thousands, then millions, then a billion or so small changes will add up to the kind of change that we must see in how we interact with our planet, if we care at all about our great-great-grandchildren. So that's the message of the film. That's my message wherever I go. I tried to share a few extra things with you. Oh, I should probably say one thing about the making of the film. Of course, it was a fairly heavy camera, and some of the equipment was very heavy. So if you haven't seen the film yet, when you see this beautiful scene where the camera pans down this marvelous waterfall deep in the heart of the forest, it's a very beautiful scene. Just think to yourselves, that film team had to get one of these cranes up the valley. That was tough. That was hard work. And we only had 3 days. The film team never had quite enough money, so we could only afford 3 days with them at Gombe. And on the last day, it was the last day to try and get some footage on the chimpanzees. And it appeared the chimps were far up the forest of the mountain. And so the cameraman, and you will love this man's work. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful camera work. He said, well, then we better go up the mountain. And something made me say, well, wait a minute. I think the chimps are going to come down. I don't know why I said that, but I did. And so he said, oh, well, if you think that, we'll wait. 20 minutes later, we had a message, the chimpanzees are moving down. 40 minutes later, they were on a ridge just above camp, and the film team went up. Now, there was no food really for the chimpanzees on this ridge. It was